Welcome to another vintage Viking show. We had some health issues going on, so that's why we were on last night. But with that being championship weekend, we thought we would tap into the Vikings NFL/NFC Championship games because unfortunately they've been in a lot of them, and they're on a current not so good streak.
Skull Vikings, let's win this game. Skull Vikings, honor your name. Go get that first down, then get a touchdown. Rock 'em, sock 'em, fight, 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 fight. Go Vikings, run out the score. You'll hear us yell for more. Vikings, Skull Vikings, let's go.
Yeah, we got our opening back. It just
That's
appeared
nice.
last week, so
Yeah, that's nice.
we got it back. So yeah, so the Vikings have been in I think what 11, 12 total NFL/NFC Championship games. Um,
I think that's right. Yeah.
they started off great.
Oh yeah, it started off unbeatable. Um, they won the NFL championship in '69. We covered that last week. They beat the Cleveland Browns, 27-7, to get on there to make it to their first Super Bowl. We already know the results. We don't have to go into it. A very That game was pretty cold, but the Vikings controlled it from start to finish, and they dominated the Cleveland Browns 27-7. The Browns, by the way, in that era of football, were still a good team. Um, they had some great players, but they had been the NFL championship 2 years in a row, and the year before they got shut out by Baltimore 34-0, and then the next year, '69. They play the Vikings and almost get shut out in that one. They scored a touchdown, I believe, late in the game to avoid the shutout. So,
Yeah. So since it's been since the merger, um, so since the merger, it's been 73, 74, 75, 78, nine. Wow, sorry. The text on this page is really bad. I don't know what kind of font they're using.
what
Uh,
the championships we've been in?
Let me see.
73 to
The
70.
NFC Championships.
Yeah.
Uh, so, yeah, they've been in a lot. I know they won their first four, and that
Mhm.
is pretty much all they won. They've lost their last six.
Is it 6 or
Uh,
7?
let's see. Well, they won 69. They um, they lost it since they won 73. They won 74, and they won in 76.
Yep.
So they lost the NFC Championship to the Cowboys in 77, to the Reds
Washington in
in
87,
77, and then
Atlanta in
Fal-
98,
Falcons in 98.
New York Giants in
So
2000,
that's yep. And then the Saints in 09, and
Saints
then
in 09,
2017 against the Eagles. So they are
2017
four,
against the Eagles. Wow.
4-6 all time with six straight losses.
Wow. Oh, that's a hell of a streak.
Yeah. So something's got to end eventually. Um, yeah, it's 69 was the last time they are officially NFL champions.
Mhm.
Since
Yeah,
69.
they do. They are NFL champions. They are recognized as NFL champions. They're recognized as the last NFL champion before
Yeah.
the merger. Um, so yes, and by the way, we've talked about this before. Green Bay's got our damn trophy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then so 70. Okay, 70. That team was a dominant team. They got surprised in the playoffs by the Niners. 71. we played the Cowboys, and the Cowboys beat us, which I think if the Vikings had a quarterback, they probably would have beat the Cowboys. But we didn't have a quarterback. We didn't have a quarterback for 2 straight years in those playoff games.
It was
72.
Quazzo, right?
Yeah, it was Quazzo and Lee in 70. And then it was Quazzo, Lee, and Norm Snead in 71. Norm Snead, who just passed away. 72, they get Fran back, but they are 7-7. 73, they rattle off, I believe, 9 in a row for wins. And then they lose on Monday night. They end regular season at 12-2, win the NFC Central. They beat Washington in the divisional playoff games, 27-20, and that was a comfort behind game. And they end up going to Dallas for the NFC Championship game. Now, this is the funny. Dallas wasn't looking. They weren't worried about the Vikings in that championship game. The reason they weren't worried about the Vikings was because Fran Tarkenton had never played in a game that big. So they weren't sure if Fran could if he was going to rise to the occasion. Dallas was already basically making arrangements to go to the Super Bowl. They were saying, we're going to, I mean, this is just a formality. We're going to Rice Stadium to play the Dolphins. And the Vikings went in there, and on both sides of the ball, they dominated the Dallas Cowboys. That was probably the most complete road win in Viking history up until I think years later. But both sides of the ball, they dominated the Dallas Cowboys. And Fran Tarkenton played the game of his life, and Vikings won 27-10 and went on to face Miami in the Super Bowl. Now, of course, you know what happened there, but that was probably the best all-around game in the Viking era, in the Bud Grant era, put it that way, on both sides of the ball. So, and that was 73. Now, 74, Vikings win the division again, 10-4. They end up playing the St. Louis Cardinals in the first round of the division playoffs, handle them 30-14. Chuck Foreman has a huge day rushing the football. So the Rams are in the championship game. And this is where I kind of question the leadership for the Rams back then. They had quarterback issues for a few years. The Rams did. They didn't know who to play at quarterback. They finally settled on Pat Hayden, and he wasn't even good enough to keep the gig, and ended up going to Vince Ferragamo later. But James Harris was the quarterback for the Rams. And the Vikings got like huge turnovers and sacks, timely sacks on the Rams. They played ball control. The weather, it wasn't really that cold. It's about 25 degrees, sunny. It's cold for the Rams, but it took a freak play to turn the tide to the Vikings. You'll see
that was the block punt, right?
No, that was the one that the Rams had got the ball down to the goal line on a long pass from James Harris to, I believe, Harold Jackson, and he didn't get in the end zone. He got down to the 1. Well, on the first play, Alan Page spotted movement and he jumped off sides. But what happened was everybody pointed at the Rams lineman. I think it might have been the center that moved the ball. So they backed it up to the 6-yard line. And I believe on the next play, James Harris rolls out throws the ball for the end zone. It was tipped by Jackie Wallace and picked off by Wally Hilgenberg. And so that kind of turned the tide for the Vikings. And the Vikings drove right down the field. They put together a drive, and they played ball control and kept it up and got it down to the 1 yard line. And Dave Osborne went up and over for the game-winning touchdown and a trip back to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, Harris was a really big deal then. He was there was, I believe, there were only 2 black QBs in the league at that time, Harris and Junior Gilliam with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
So they played the Rams back to back, 74 and then 76 for them.
Yeah,
the championship game. So they 14-10 is like you were saying 74. 24-13. I think that was the 90-yard block field goal.
24-13. The day after the Super Bowl, I was 10 years old. You know, if you look at how important special teams is in football, that game right there and that 76 Vikings team proves to you just how important special teams is in block kicks, because the Vikings blocked like 19 or 20 kicks, and they all had something to do, and they all were turned into points. And that was no different with the championship game, because the Rams drove once again. Though the Rams, they could move on the Viking defense. The Viking defense was older. Plus, now get this, I don't know why, but Jeff Seaman, you know, their Pro Bowl middle linebacker, he didn't start that game. It was Amos Martin who started in the middle. And the Rams had both John Capoletti and Lawrence McCutcheon in the backfield. And Pat Heaton was a starting quarterback. So what did the Rams do? They ran the ball. They ran the ball right at the heart of the Viking defense with Capoletti and McCutcheon. And they got down to the 1. They couldn't score. Could not score. And so they tried to settle for a field goal. And Nate Allen, how he got around the edges, he did it with such ease. And he got around there, blocked a kick, and the ball bounces right to Bobby Bryant, and Bobby Bryant catches it in his stride, and he's right down the sideline. Bob Swede, you're right. They ran on Page and they ran on Sutherland. They literally ran at the middle of the Viking defense in that game, especially in the opening drive, the opening 2 drives.
Because that Alan Page, as great as he was small. So
he had lost weight. Plus, he was so quick off the ball that trap plays worked on him. And so teams would just let him run in, and then they'd be like, "Let him run by you. We'll run it right by him."
So even though they've played 10 games, so they've lost. They played the Rams twice.
Mm-hmm.
They played the Cowboys twice. And then they played the Giants. They played the Giants, the Redskins, the Falcons, and the Saints once.
Mm-hmm.
And
the Cleveland Browns once.
Well, that was after the merger. These are the games they've played since the merger. It's kind of weird how they played in 10 championship games, and they're on an 0-6 run. And it's not like any of the games were 41-0 was probably the worst one. As far as the Vikings not showing up. And the Eagles was 38-7. For all you Case Keenum fans out there, he pretty much gave the Eagles the momentum in that game. with that pick six that he threw. So that
And
totally
Zimmer's,
changed.
and Zimmer's defense got picked apart by, of all people, Nick Foles.
Yeah. Obviously, the two most painful ones were 09 and 98. But the 98 one, I don't understand. As much as I love Denny Green, he kind of sat on the ball instead of trying to go for a field goal with a kicker who only missed once the whole year. Instead of trying to go down and maybe get a field goal, you play for overtime.
He's at old school. He played the percentages.
Yeah. And then 2009, if you don't fumble the ball or turn the ball over 6 times, I think it was, 3 times on the goal line, it doesn't matter that they cheap shot everybody. You still win that game.
AP couldn't hang on to the ball.
Yeah.
He could not hang on to the ball.
Which is amazing with how strong his hands are that he fumbled as much.
I'm like, everybody said, oh, he's got so strong hands. And why is he dropping the ball so easily?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, T-Bass, we've talked about this.
Yeah, that's another issue. You know,
they've definitely softer since they've been indoors. But 09, I guess you could say that if the Saints weren't cheap shot in Favre, that it's kind of funny because the Lions are doing the same thing now. If they didn't cheap shot Favre, then who knows? Maybe Favre runs it as opposed to throwing it to Sidney Rice for that pick, that Tracy Porter pick that should have never happened. Maybe he runs for it and gets in field goal range that year. We had Longwell, right? That year?
Yeah, well, here's a problem. Bob Sweet brings it up. If Childress isn't the idiot, and gets that 12-minute in a huddle penalty,
yeah, that's
actually Jim. Bobby Bryant had an interception return in a 73 game against the Cowboys, which sealed it. A 63-yard INT return. Bobby Bryant was a big play guy. He's probably the most unsung of that era as far as defensive backs go. 51 INTs. He wasn't the biggest guy. It was kind of scary to watch him hit somebody, but he could come up with the big plays. He could also block kicks himself. But yeah, the kick return in the 76 championship, and then the interception return in the 73 championship game. He missed 69 and he missed 74 because he was hurt.
Yeah.
So he missed it for injuries.
And as great as Tarkington was, yes, he did win. He did win Night Mama. He did win 3 NFC Championship games, but as we know, he did not perform in the Super Bowl. Joe Cap was pretty good. He did win. He is the only championship winning quarterback for Minnesota. A guy who could not throw the ball at all is the only quarterback to win a championship for Minnesota.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that. People think it was Fran Tarkenton that won the championship in '69. It was Joe Cap.
Yeah, it's Joe Cap.
So the Twins broke their streak of non-playoff wins.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just because look at when the Minnesota Lakers were here, Minneapolis Lakers, they won championships all the time.
Oh, they own the NBA, them in Boston.
So what changed in Minnesota sports for all these teams to where supposedly does the Minnesota curse come from? Because the only franchise since the Lakers left Minneapolis to win it, other than the women,
it's not even. You know what? It's not even a curse.
Twins.
You know what it is? It's Minnesota ineptness. They're just inept. The Twins won it in 87, 91.
They won in 29 too, but they don't count that for some reason. I don't understand why. It's the same franchise. It's just different. I don't.
Here's a funny thing. You know that one of the NCAA football teams with the most national championships is the University of Minnesota.
Yeah.
We haven't won a national championship since 1960. But before then, we were winning. I think we were like 3 straight years.
It was them in Michigan. Yeah, they are the last. They are the last team to win championship 3 years in a row in college football.
Right. T-Bass, I'm going to agree with you there. It's a lot of it starts with ownership, and I think you kind of look. They have to look at it now with this current group of owners. They settle for just making the playoffs.
Well, the guy running the Twins now is what, 28, 29? They gave the power of the Twins to the nephew, the Pohlads.
Okay.
Their nephew's running. He's young. So maybe he does. It seems like the younger generation doesn't settle for mediocrity like the older generation does.
No. I mean, the Timberwolves are actually winning now.
Yeah, but Glenn Taylor's the owner, but he's not really the owner.
No, he gave it up. It's owned by
A-Rod and the other guy.
A-Rod and the other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've touched on. Well, that was because of the GOAT, supposedly, just like the Lions with Bobby was it Bobby Lane or Night Train Lane that they got rid of for the curse for the Lions?
Bobby Lane after he got him a championship.
Yeah. So basically, it's not just like a Vikings problem. It just seems to be a Minnesota problem.
Right now, the state loves mediocre.
Well, as of right now, would you say the Vikings are the worst of the Big Four? Because the Twins are more than likely going to win the division next year.
That's not saying much.
The T-Wolves are good for once.
Yeah, and I want to see how that plays out.
And the Wild are the Wild. They're a playoff team. So are the Vikings the worst team in Minnesota right now?
Right now, yes.
Because we don't watch soccer, but I think the soccer team is good.
Soccer team is average at best.
Yeah. So other than hockey, the college team sucks, but they see the hockey team, the college hockey team chokes a lot. Whether it's University of Minnesota, they choke a lot. So
and here's the thing: Minnesota's like the state of hockey.
Yeah.
So it's like even for college hockey, you've got kids that can go everywhere. Those that are hockey players, they can still go to other schools and still get looked at by the NHL.
And so the Vikings are on a path of going to the championship game. 2018. So it's pretty much every 8 or 9 years. So last time they went was 2018. So we're looking at 2025, 2026 for them to go back to the championship game. But here's the thing.
That's a hell of a long time.
Here's the thing, though. 2 head coaches were just hired. One in Los Angeles, right, and one in Atlanta.
Harbaugh and Morris.
Both those coaches interviewed for the Vikings job.
Yep. Oh, get this.
Okay. What if it's the Falcons and the Chargers in Super Bowl?
Oh, and we're still stuck with KOC?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fuck that. I'm not high on KOC anyway. But this tells me if Harbaugh gets the Chargers to a Super Bowl.
Right. All because of one fucking petty minority owner.
Actually, there's 2 people. I found out who the other person was.
Is he just as minor as the other one?
No, she.
Is she just as minor as the other one?
She's not. Yeah, she's even more minor. She's in charge of like players something unity. It's a big long spiel name she's got, and I found out who she was, and I'm just like, oh my god, she's the reason Harbaugh's not here. Here's the thing, though. When the Vikings interviewed coaches for that opening, they interviewed Nathaniel Hackett, right?
One of the worst coaches ever.
Yeah. And guess who they really liked? They really liked Hackett.
He couldn't win with a good quarterback.
They really liked Hackett.
Yeah. So I don't know. So there's only 2 teams with a head opening position right now, and I think it's pretty set in stone who the head coaches of those 2 teams are. So the Washington is probably going to hire Johnson from Detroit, and the Seahawks are probably going to go to Dan Quinn.
So Vrabel's out of a job then, huh?
So is Belichick. But
I think Belichick's going to wait till next year. I think Belichick wants one of those jobs in Jersey. I think it's either the Jets or the Giants.
Yeah. So that's the Jets, the Giants, their coaches are on a hot seat. They said that Tampa Bay doesn't make the playoffs next year. Bowles is gone. There's somebody else. There's another team that has a coach on the hot seat as well. But
KOC should be on the hot seat.
He's not.
He should be.
He should be. But the reason I'm talking about the Falcons is because with Raheem Morris being the coach and not Belichick, and we know Belichick does not want a rookie quarterback. I don't think Raheem Morris cares because he's a defense.
Raheem Morris could get Russell Wilson down there.
Right. And the Chargers don't need a quarterback.
The Chargers don't need a quarterback.
I would fire KOC and hire Belichick.
I would too.
I mean, we'll probably be stuck with Cousins as our quarterback still, but
and here's the thing. I think the teams are going to wait and take a look at film on Kirk before they decide if they want to get how much money they want to give him. Including the Vikings, if the Vikings decide to do that. So,
yeah, like I said, now that they hired Morris, I think the Falcons are out. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think the Falcons are out on Cousins.
Oh, they're out on they're out because Raheem Morris doesn't want Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
he'd rather have Russell Wilson. Hell, he'd rather have Gardner Minshew.
I mean, what about Tannehill? They're saying right now Tannehill 2 years, around $15 million. Would you have Tannehill for a bridge quarterback?
Yeah, I sign him.
Or Minshew.
Minshew would be cheaper, but I sign either one of them as a bridge quarterback, and then draft your quarterback.
But it goes back to again: do we trust the head coach?
Do we trust his front office? Personally,
that's the question.
The answer is no, and no.
Because we're talking about championship weekend, and the Lions are there, but the Lions are there once every 30 years. It seems like when the Lions win the division, they seem to make the NFC Championship game. I don't think they got a chance against the San Francisco 49ers, but I could be wrong.
Is Debo playing Sunday?
Questionable, but I mean, it depends if the Lions cheap shot Kittles, like they cheap shotted Hawkinson and cheap shotted Higsby from the Rams, then they have a chance, I guess.
Okay,
so then how about the NFL showing that sign about the knee injuries of the tight ends that they've played?
Okay, I got a question here, and I'm sticking up for defensive players all across the country.
Right.
All right. When you take away targets for a defensive player to hit somebody, what is he left with?
I get that. But it's the same player. Same spot.
Okay, guess what? All the greats always hit people the same way. Butkus did it. Tatum did it. Lott did it. So are we just going to fuck with this guy because he did it to a couple of – it killed somebody's fantasy?
He's also the same guy that hit J.J. High and got the unsportsmanlike conduct.
And you know what I'm going to say? Remember how they used to tell people in football to keep your head on a swivel? I'm going to say the same goddamn thing. Keep your head on a swivel. Stop getting complacent out there.
But did Joey Browner ever go for the knees like this guy does? You can be physical and you can hit people. You can hit them in a certain. I mean, you can hit them in the same.
There are players that went for knees all the time. It was mandated. It was actually taught back then. It's not taught now. He's actually hitting old school. You know, I mean, in today's football, it seems dirty. He fit right in the 70s and 80s.
Well, I understand. Like I said, I understand that there's a limited space to.
And that's my point. Everybody's bitching about defense, blah blah blah. Guess what? You've taken away the targets for the defense.
I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just being an devil's advocate.
And I'm playing. And I'm gonna play Satan's right hand man with this play, with this call, because when you take away, what is a defensive player supposed to do?
Because now they're talking about making that a penalty.
And see, this is how much of excuse my language for all the ladies out there, this is how much of a pussy league the NFL has become. They want to flag everything. If you don't have highlight reels for the offensive players, and if the offense doesn't put up 40, 50 friggin' points, guess what? It's not good football. I'm sorry. If you got defensive players out there, let them play defense. They're going to be more than a friggin' aesthetic for offensive highlights. What?
I don't know. I am more of the host of this show, than, we all know Tony. We said it before. Tony's the one. He's the encyclopedia of this. I'm the Reader's Digest version until we get to the 80s. Well, hey, George, if that's the way you feel, that's the way you feel.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just the NFL's got to find a balance. I mean, you've already made it so you can't play pass defense. They throw a flag quickly. Defense you can't be aggressive on defense either.
Yeah.
You just can't. So now, guess what? Now that the tush push didn't work in the playoffs, they'll probably ban that now. They were talking about banning it before. They'll probably ban it now.
Like it used to be, that used to be a rule. Because when Notre Dame played Southern Cal, and Reggie Bush pushed Leinart into the end zone, that was supposed to be an illegal play at the time, but they didn't call it.
It's helping the runner.
Yeah. So that used to be a rule. I don't know when they got
it. It was a rule. Hell, I remember watching a Viking game. We played the Packers, and Ted Brown was going off. He had a really good run, ran like 30 yards, and the refs threw a flag on Ricky Young for helping the runner.
Yeah.
I'm like, and so, but it was illegal. But I asked my friend about that. I'm like, when did they make that not illegal? He's like, a couple of years ago on all levels of football.
It was probably one of those silent rule changes that people didn't pay attention to.
Right. Like the ball coming out to the 25-yard line. Yeah. A lot of people didn't notice that. I noticed it. I actually noticed it was semi-pro.
Or the kickoff used to be the 30, now it's the 35.
Right. And when it went into the end zone, it came out to the 20, not the 25.
Right.
So my whole thing was, and this may sound stupid, but okay. So basically what you're doing is you're punishing the kicker for doing his job.
Right. And then was it now in college, if you fair catch it inside the 10-yard line, you still get it at the 25.
You know what? The NFL did that too, but the players would run it. A couple of NFL players did it. It's an NFL rule too. There's a one year rule to see how it works. So we'll see. But yeah, I say move it back to the 30. Move it back to the 30 and take it from there. I forget.
But they won't do that though, because that's more for a return to happen, and we've all know that the NFL, they're trying to find a way to get the kickoff return pretty much out of the game.
Okay, so the NFL is trying to get rid of a very important part of football.
Well, it goes back to that, as you said, the pussification of the NFL.
Yeah, but do they realize that, okay, you get rid of the kickoffs, you've actually, there are guys that aren't going to have roster spots?
Well, do they put the roster size down to 48? So they want to go to an 18-game schedule.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing the NFL wants to do. Are they going to do 1 week bye, 2 week bye week? Are they going to increase the roster from 53 to 60? Or actually, instead of dressing just 48 of the 53, are they actually going to allow 53 to
well, you've got 53, and I think you have how many on practice squad?
You usually have 16 on practice squad, but only 48 can dress for the game.
Only 48 can dress for the game. Well,
Yeah.
49 when you count the third string quarterback.
Yeah.
Which teams still aren't dressing a third string quarterback?
Because they actually got rid of that rule to where that used to be the old rule. The third string quarterback, you could dress him. He didn't count against the roster because he was emergency. And then they changed the rule to where the third string quarterback counted against the 48-man dressing. And teams, there was times where teams lost both their quarterbacks and they had to play like a running back up quarterback. So then they put the rule back in.
Oh yeah, like the Niners did in the championship game against the Eagles.
Yeah.
You would think teams would have learned their lesson by that. Sign 3 quarterbacks. If you're not sure, sign 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't like the direction that the NFL is going in. I don't like the direction football is going in. I'm about ready to just start watching high school and semi-pro and the arena leagues here in the Twin Cities, but I don't like what's going on with college with all the big conferences and all that other. It just takes away from it. There's just the money's rolling in and you can tell it.
Yeah. Well,
the NFL, for some reason, the NFL and well, you know what? They used to say that being on kickoff teams, you got the most concussions.
Because of the wedge. Mostly.
Because of the wedge, which then they got rid of.
Right. I mean, what is wrong with nobody moving into the ball escape? Standing 10 yards apart. Because
they did that. Didn't they do that in the one of the leagues, the USFL?
Yeah, the USFL, I think it was. And and you still got kickoff returns, but the collisions were nowhere near as bad as they were.
Yeah, and it worked. I think what's going on is Roger Goodell's taking advice from people who have never played the game.
Well, kind of like Vikings front office.
Mm-hmm.
I understand analytics. I understand analytics is part of the game now, but
analytics ruin baseball.
Right. It doesn't necessarily mean just because you didn't play the game, you can't be a coach. You can't evaluate talent. But when you've never played the game and you're outside looking in, a lot of times these hits that players take, a lot of times they don't even hurt. They just seem like they would. It's actually weird because the big collision where they're running full speed, they hit each other, those usually don't hurt. It's usually like the little grazing hits because you learn how to fall and you learn how to protect yourself getting hit when you play. You get hit all the time. When you're not expecting it and it's kind of like a glancing blow, those are the ones that actually hurt the most.
Here's the thing. when we played, the equipment was much bigger. The shoulder pads, the pads, everything. So we
Hey,
actually,
George, you're always here, bro. So, I mean, don't worry
yeah.
about it, man. Yeah, Tony's not feeling well. It's the off season. We're trying to come up with topics. It's just one of those things. We appreciate you being here, man. Don't
Oh
worry
yeah,
about it.
George. Yeah,
Yeah, don't worry about it,
yeah.
man.
But I mean, it's like the equipment that we wore real pads and everything else.
Yeah,
We wore real shoulder pads. Um, the players nowadays, have you seen NFL equipment nowadays?
it's more about style than protection. I mean, let's go back to. I probably remember the helmet coming off. I never lost my helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I think of maybe the whole time I played, maybe I saw someone lose their helmet 4, 5 times. And a lot of times that was when the defensive player or the offensive player pretty much shoved their hand on the
Yeah,
face mask.
if a lineman got up under your face
Yeah,
mask and pushed it off, yeah.
but
Um,
now it's like on a regular play, just they lose their helmet just running down the field. Is it? I don't get it. Is it just because they
oh
don't?
my
They.
God,
I remember having like a red spot on my helmet. Like I literally couldn't. I had long hair when I played. I
Mhm.
couldn't put my hair in between my forehead pad and my
All
forehead
the
because
girls on here, hey baby.
it would pull on the hair and it would hurt. So I had to
Yeah,
put my hair back. Nowadays, they with the hair that these players have nowadays, I think it does. I think their helmets don't fit the way they should. You know,
they're loose. They're not as
yeah,
tight as
yeah,
they
they're
were.
loose. I
Yeah.
don't with all the advancements they've made in helmets, it really doesn't matter if the helmet's not tight.
Mm, yeah.
No, I'm not that old now. Hey,
I'm actually older than Catch.
yeah,
So if anybody played in leather helmets, it was me. No, we played in the old school. I mean, and Catch probably realizes this. We had to deal with what was that? MRSA with
yeah.
the helmets. Because they just gave you somebody's helmet from the year before. Didn't change the pads, didn't do nothing. That's what you got stuck with.
The 2 times I've been hit the hardest have uh, one was a fullback and one was a running back. That's a defensive lineman.
I
Uh,
got one play. I saw the play come in my direction. I went to, make to follow the play. So
yeah,
I turned off my guy, and then I just got clocked by, I believe it was the tight end.
on a play that's illegal now.
Right. And I got clocked. I was out. Um, and I saw stars.
Yeah,
I saw stars. But yeah, that was,
you can't Sears catalog helmet.
oh God.
For those of you who don't know, who are young, the Sears catalog was the Amazon back in the day.
Sears and Wards.
Yeah,
Sears and Montgomery Wards. If you everybody looked for, especially around Christmas time, you always waited for that Sears catalog
yep,
and that Wards catalog because it would have everything. It was like if you're a kid and a football fan,
yeah.
it was your dream come true.
Well, plus if you're a young 9, 10, 11-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
that underwear, the women's underwear department, in the Sears catalog.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh. I just remember they seemed so happy to be in their underwear.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, Too Evil. We know how you feel on Cousins. We know you also do a bit to where you like trade everybody. So I don't know if you really are. I think you might. I think the cousin stuff actually might be real with you. It may not be a bit. I know some of the other stuff is. There are people out there Um, I'm sorry, I'm reading your other one. Um,
There's a fan base here with Kirk Cousins that they just love him.
I don't know what you're talking about, Northeast. But um, there's people out there who hate Cousins, think everything is Cousins' fault, and then there's people out there who
He can do no wrong.
he can do no wrong. I have said before that there is a limit to what Cousins can do. I don't think everything is Cousins' fault, but he makes mistakes. He's a top 15 quarterback, and as we've seen, top 15 quarterbacks cover a lot of ills for you. Can you win with Cousins? Yes. Everything's got to be perfect, though. Like the 49ers would be a perfect team for Cousins because he's got a great defense, great offensive line, and he's got weapons. The Vikings have not done enough to build around Cousins, so therefore it's partly Cousins' fault because he can only go take you so far. It's also the Vikings' fault. So, as far as that goes, that's what it is. But he's probably top 5 quarterback in Vikings history, which is not saying much for the Vikings history at quarterback. Most people are, I think even some people who are Kirk Cousins fans are ready to move on. But unfortunately, if now that the Falcons hired Raheem Morris, that takes one team out. I don't think Falcons are going to want anything to do with Cousins now. And if the offer or the money is the same, like if the Vikings offer Cousins 3 years, let's just say $90 million, 2 years guaranteed, and somebody else offers Cousins 3 years, $93 million, 2 years guaranteed, he's probably going to take the $3 million less to come to Minnesota.
I think that ship has sailed for Atlanta. I think Raheem Morris can sign anybody but Kirk.
Yeah, I don't know why I do that, to be Northeast. I don't know why I do that. I only do it when I'm on here. I don't do it when I'm talking. I maybe it's just something I do with my hands. I don't know. I don't know why I do it. But I do notice myself stroking my beard more than I normally do when I'm not on here. So I don't know what it is.
Two Evil's got a good question here. Technically, the Viking culture is technically what Bud Grant did. That's the culture because they set the standard.
Yeah.
But Denny Green also set a standard. This team hasn't had any kind of a standard since probably Denny Green.
Brad Childress, they definitely didn't have one. I think we didn't get a culture
Childress was an idiot.
Until Brett Favre got here. That 09 season was more Favre than the coaching.
That was off. Well, guess what, though? If he doesn't get Brett Favre and Brett Favre doesn't play well, Childress doesn't get that extension.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
we haven't had that Viking identity since Denny Green. Any Viking team.
They might have had one for a little bit under Zimmer, a defensive mentality under Zimmer. But as far as true, like, this is the Vikings' identity. This is what they're known for.
Right.
The whole 3 deep and all that type of stuff. That was definitely.
Even with Zimmer and now see, here's where the great unknown comes in. What if Teddy's leg doesn't literally blow up?
Right.
What if Teddy does not get hurt? So then guess what? Once Teddy that started the quarterback BS we've had when Teddy got hurt. And ever since then, we have had quarterback BS.
They brought in Bradford, who
was damaged goods.
90-year-old knees.
Yeah.
He wore that big ass those long ass shoulder pads. I've never seen a quarterback wear shoulder pads that actually went like all the way down.
Yeah, they were all the way down.
Yeah, it was like, what are you doing? Yeah. And then of course Keenum had that run But think about, then they signed the Cousins. We know what we've had with Cousins, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but here's the thing: the whole time Keenan was doing that run,
He never got backing from Zimmer.
Zimmer never fully committed to him. He's like, as long as
Mm-hmm.
he's playing the way he's playing, he's our quarterback.
He never got.
Because they would be like, is Keenan your starter? As long as he's playing the way he's playing, he's our quarterback. That's all he would ever say.
Yeah.
I don't think he liked the off-script stuff that Keenan did.
You know who else doesn't like off-script stuff? KOC.
Yeah, because he land-based
Dobbs for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the off-script stuff works. Harbaugh's relationship with young York at the Niners. I heard Harbaugh sent York out a lot. Yeah, I heard about that too. He made enemies in that front office big time. One was York, the other one was Bulky. But yeah, it didn't work out because of York and Harbaugh. It was his team, and he would tell you it's his team. So
just the whole alpha male attitude, for some reason, a lot of people have a problem with that. But I want my coach to be.
You know what it is? It's a younger generation thing. You know what it is? It's a Jerry Jones thing. Let's just be honest about that. It's a Jerry. Put it this way: you're
right, Norpheus.
No, there isn't. None at all. None.
Perfect example of that is these playoff games you're seeing.
Yeah.
The Vikings would get a lead and they would just try to protect the lead. They wouldn't keep trying to score like Baltimore. They just kept trying. They're up by 2 touchdowns and they're like, well, let's put these guys away. Let's score another one. You think Kevin O'C is going to do that?
He doesn't have. He just does not have.
Yeah,
doesn't have that mentality. He just doesn't. Yeah, they both had head coaching experience.
Yeah,
they did. Yeah.
Yeah, Norpheus. Yogi has a new position.
Congrats to Yogi. Yeah, congrats to Yogi.
Let's see, is there any other?
Here's the thing with Raheem Morris getting that job in Atlanta. He could, bring Wes Phillips down there to be his OC too, and call plays.
I would like to. I've always said that being a head coach is tough to begin with, and then being a head coach and calling the plays with the offense or defense is.
And that's why you need to give up play calling responsibilities.
Yeah,
especially when you're a first-time coach.
Yeah, because even Belichick gave that up for a little bit.
Yeah, he had competent guys that he trusted. Yeah. Okay, now here's the thing. So basically, Mike Vrabel got fired for nothing.
Him and the owner didn't get along, as far as I believe.
He got fired for nothing.
Yeah, and it's not Bud Adams' wife who owns the team. I think it's her sister that owns it.
It's her sister that owns the team.
And he got along with Bud Adams' wife, but he does not get along with her sister. So, I mean, I don't care. Maybe because I'm old school. I don't care. We don't have to get along. I didn't have to get along. I didn't get along with all my teammates, But, are we better as a team if you're on my team? And should we get along just to succeed? That's all I care about. We ain't got to be friends off the field.
Well, now they've got
what's up, Skolden?
Hey, Skolden. They just hired, who was it? Callahan?
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't he the son of Callahan who coached the Raiders in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think so.
So I just have a feeling that the Chargers are going to be good and the Falcons are going to be good because of the coaches they hired, and they both could have been Vikings head coach.
And that's the scary
I
part.
hate to say it, but it just seems
That's the scary part.
it just seems like the Vikings in their history have shown that coaches leave Minnesota and they succeed other places. Like
Mm-hmm.
like Stefanski, look at him, Tomlin.
Yeah. Most people give credit to Bill Walsh for the West.
Jerry Burns is the West Coast offense.
Burns all the way.
Yeah.
Jerry Burns. Matter of fact, Walsh did give Burns credit.
Yeah.
Years later. I did hear the new Kirk odds. I did.
Did they update him since Raheem Morris got hired?
Not yet.
Because the Falcons were the betting favorite to land Cousins.
Not anymore.
When they thought Belichick was going to be the head coach.
I don't think Raheem Morris wants him.
No. He doesn't mind rolling with a young coach. But like you said, they could also get Russell Williams. They don't have to pay Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson will take a league minimum and stick it to the Broncos to make him pay the contract.
Okay, go to Two Evil's question here.
Which one?
Is the Vikings' current situation the worst it's been in the last 20 years? Currently, no. I would say it's cause for alarm.
Yeah, well, the end of the Leslie Frazier era was pretty bad.
Yeah, but I looked forward to that. I was actually, it was time to get somebody in here. But he unfortunately got stuck with Christian Ponder. And once again, that was the front office.
Well, Ponder wasn't supposed to play I will defend Ponder a little bit. He wasn't supposed to play his rookie year. He was supposed to sit. He was supposed to sit behind McNabb for a year, but McNabb was too busy throwing worm burners, and they had to pull him.
Well, he technically didn't have a training camp. He didn't have an off season, remember? That off season, NFL had the players lockout. They had
that was
2011.
Yeah.
Or 2010.
But you're a veteran. McNabb's a veteran. He should not have struggled like he did, even with the lockout.
Change of scenery. He didn't have. Only weapon he had was Percy Harvin. It was just he had AP. And who was calling our plays? Was that Musgrave? No, Musgrave?
Was that? Might have been Musgrave.
Yeah, that was.
Could that have been
the guy with the cue card for a friggin' play call?
And he went to Detroit after. He went to Detroit after. Was it Detroit? He went to after. I think it was Detroit. He called plays for after us. After he left Minnesota. Well, that was one thing that Zimmer. That was one thing that Zimmer did do. Zimmer brought in former head coaches to help.
And as much as that was a good thing to do, it probably cost him too, because then the power struggle started. And
that's why Turner left.
That's why Turner left, and it really started when they got Bradford up here. That caused every kind of friggin' headache you could think of. That caused, it was basically Sperano and what's the guy's name? Pat Shurmur, that were in his ear telling him that we know what works for Bradford.
Well, that's how it used to be done all the time, Too Evil. Is you would bring a quarterback, he would sit for a couple years, and then when he was ready, he would play. But nowadays,
now teams want to play them right away.
Yeah,
because they've got them now for the future. They want to, and this is kind of a backwards thing. They want to build around. You want to build the team around the quarterback. Your quarterback don't play defense. So what are you building that defense around? Your quarterback don't block. So what are you going to do? Year by year add pieces, and in the meantime, your quarterback's probably going to take the beating of his life?
And let's be honest. I don't think Jordan Love. I think once the league figures Jordan Love out, he's not going to be the same as the two quarterbacks that preceded him. But
Okay, Jordan Love's about to get paid.
right, yeah,
The Jordan Love we saw this year is history. We're going to see a Jordan Love that's going to look average as hell.
yeah.
Because teams have film on him now. They've studied him. They scouted him. He still doesn't have that marquee receiver. The Packers, I give them credit. They did it with young players. They did. But now you ain't fooling nobody. And by the way, you can thank the Vikings for collapsing at the end because the Vikings were in control of their own destiny.
Yep.
And blew it. That's how the Packers got into the playoffs.
Yep. So if the Vikings don't collapse, the Vikings make the playoffs. The Packers miss the playoffs. They're not even talking about how good Jordan Love is.
We're not even having this conversation. So,
yeah, Dan Marino did have a good rookie season, but Peyton Manning's rookie season was awful.
Yeah, he didn't look very good at all.
And nobody would have thought Peyton Manning would have been the player that he would have been after his rookie year.
Yeah.
But he learned by trial by fire. But Green Bay is a different situation because you had Favre, who was, and then Aaron Rodgers sat for what, 3, 4, or 5 years. And then
it was to the point where McCarthy actually wanted to play Rodgers, and he had to literally, when Brett did the whole "I'm retiring, not retiring, retiring, not retiring," McCarthy's like, "Well, I'm playing Rodgers. I don't know what you're going to do."
Yeah.
But he was ready to move on, and Rodgers didn't set the world on fire his first few years.
No. And Rodgers says that Favre said, it's not my job to teach the guy behind me to be a good quarterback. But Rodgers, we all know Rodgers is a smart dude. He learned from watching.
Yeah.
Even though Favre didn't kind of lead him, he just learned from watching.
But you know what really worked though for the Packers, right? When McCarthy transitioned the Packers into that up-tempo offense, no huddle.
Yeah.
When they transitioned into that, my God, Aaron Rodgers was unstoppable.
Yep.
He was literally on top, and that's coaching. Who do you give that to? Mike McCarthy, because McCarthy was smart enough to put together a completely different game plan from what he ran with Favre. He's like, okay, I'm going to run this. Let me try running this with Aaron. More pace, faster pace, up-tempo, quicker decisions, and see what happens. Boom, Super Bowl champions. Boom, top offense for years. And it got to the point where defenses you couldn't make adjustments.
I mean, 30 years of 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks back to back. No other team has ever done that. So, I mean, 49ers had 2 Hall of Fame back to back quarterbacks, but it wasn't a 30-year run.
Nobody's had a 30-year run like that.
Yeah. So
Nobody.
A lot of these Packer fans are spoiled, and they got lucky this year with Dallas not showing up in that playoff game. Really surprised me. What happened against the 49ers, I kind of expected it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think everybody says the Vikings are in the worst position in the NFC North right now. In the future for a couple of years, they might be. I don't think the Packers are gonna, keep going 13-3, 10 like they have been with Jordan Love.
They were what, 9-8 this year?
I believe so.
They will probably be like that 8-9, 10-7, 7-10. They're gonna hover around mediocre. Put it that way.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Jordan Love. I'm not saying Jordan Love is dumb. I don't think his football IQ is as high as Rodgers' was. Rodgers has a very high football IQ. He's pretty much Peyton Manning when it comes to football IQ, which I hate to say it because he was a Packer quarterback. But let's be honest, we hoped we beat Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback, because even how bad the defense was, him being a top 2 or 3 quarterback, playing him twice a year, I'm glad he's gone. Let's just say that.
Hey, T-Bass, the whole thing in San Francisco with Young and Montana, Young was a backup to Montana for they got him in 87 in a trade with Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Montana suffered a couple of injuries. I forget what year it was where he literally rolled out to the left and
Got killed by the Giants. Was that 88? Was that
90 when he got killed by the Giants?
Yeah.
And that was in 91. Young took over. And they didn't I don't think the Niners made the playoffs that year. I don't think they did.
And
then 92, it was.
But Young says himself that if it wasn't for Montana, he probably would not have been as good as he was. He says he learned a lot by sitting and watching.
Yeah. Yeah. And he had Bill Walsh.
Yeah.
He had Bill Walsh.
And then they had George Seifert pretty much. It's pretty much like the Jimmy Johnson, the Barry Switzer. It was kind of like that situation. They pretty much he didn't change anything running the team. He just ran it the exact same way.
Right.
Yeah.
He just didn't have the results that Bill Walsh did.
Yeah. He did win the one Super Bowl, but
actually won. How many did he win? 2.
Well, Walsh won what?
3. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Seifert went to Carolina and didn't do anything.
No, he didn't. But yeah, it's sometimes it's a system, and if you've got a good system and you've got good coaches, that helps a lot. Which all comes back to what do we have with the Vikings? We don't know.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah. I saw that story in Orpheus. That was a pretty good story. I think Jeff Tedford was the quarterback at Cal at the time too. Jeff Tedford's he's like a quarterback guru, which is why I'm surprised that Rodgers fell all the way to 21. But that's what I hate to say it, but that's what good teams do. Is even though they may not need a quarterback at the time, they still take a quarterback that has look at Kansas City. Did they need Mahomes because they had Alex Smith? No, but they took him anyway. Did the Packers need Rodgers when they drafted him? No, but they took him anyway. So that's what good teams do.
Yeah, if you think ahead, instead of now, like the Vikings, they need a quarterback. They blew off quarterback for years, so now they're going to be this year drafting a quarterback.
As long as Spielman was a GM, they weren't going to change quarterbacks.
We've had some real idiots running this team. I'm just going to say that. But yeah, it's what do I look for this year? I don't look for much out of this football team this year. I just don't. I don't expect much. Keep myself grounded because I think this team is probably just going to do just enough to once again be on the brink of a playoff and then completely fall apart.
Yeah, the Vikings have that good history, but most of it. Well, they are one of the best regular season teams in the history of the football in the NFL, which is.
Yeah, it's the postseason.
Yeah.
Namely the Super Bowls. Now the championships. So, we've lost 6 in a row. So.
Yeah, George, on this, that's why I keep telling people there's a possibility Cousins comes back. Like I said, I've said this before. It doesn't matter what we think in the chats and YouTube chats on Twitter, chats, Reddit, anything like that. It doesn't matter what, Tony and I say on YouTube as hosts, as content creators. What matters is what do the players in that locker room say privately, not publicly, about Cousins. What do the coaches say about Cousins privately? What does the front office think about Cousins privately? I think KOC truly wants Cousins back. Kwesi, I'm not so sure about. So I think there is a number that Kwesi will not go above. That's why don't be surprised if they offer the Cousins a 3-year, $90 million contract, 2 years guaranteed. It's $30 million a year. Don't be surprised if the Vikings offer Cousins that and he takes it. If he doesn't get a better offer someplace else that like completely blows him away, because he's coming off his surgery. If he didn't get hurt, he would probably get. There would be a team out there that would pay him the $45 million that he probably wants. With the Falcons hiring Raheem Morris as a head coach, I think it's more of a possibility now that Cousins returns. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, and I don't. I would like to see us move on. Tony would like to see. A lot of us would like to see the Vikings move on for Cousins. I just don't know if it's going to happen.
It has to happen. That's the whole thing. This organization needs to realize that it has to happen. You can't keep hanging on to the guy. You have to move on. Bottom line, you have to. So basically, you keep Cousins around. You're still on the hamster wheel of mediocrity.
Yeah.
You're already losing. You're going to lose Hunter. They'll sign JJ, which I got my feelings about that. But if you give Kirk Cousins any more guaranteed money, screw that. He doesn't deserve guaranteed money. He's coming off a damn injury. I don't care what he did before he got hurt. I don't care what he's done before he got hurt. How much guaranteed money has he got from the Minnesota Vikings? And where has that got the Minnesota Vikings?
Well, I agree.
Where?
I'm just saying, don't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised because that is a Minnesota Viking move.
Because Cousins has said it's not about the money, it's about the structure.
Oh, Cousins is full of shit.
I think he's looking for. He's
looking for guaranteed money. He's so full of shit. He just knows what to say. It's all about the structure. Okay, why ain't your ass trying to get us to a Super Bowl? Fuck. Excuse my language, folks.
I'm tired of the one and dones, man.
It gets old. It gets old. Everything about this Viking team is old. Especially for us that saw the older teams, that saw the Super Bowl teams, where actually the regular season was just a formality to the playoffs. This team was thinking Super Bowl all the way. Now this team is thinking, let's just make the postseason and see what happens. And where does that start? At the top. It starts with the Wolves. That whole mentality. And from what I've been told right now, this team has really no direction.
I don't think the owners will allow that to happen.
No, because then that means they're going to lose ticket sales. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because we're talking, it's championship weekend, and we've already gone over the Vikings championship games. If you just joined us, they've been to 10 of them. They've lost the last 6 in a row. I'm tired of losing 6 in a row, so we need to do something to stop that. This team is stuck in This team's stuck in purgatory right now. They're not good enough to win anything, but they're not bad enough to get a top pick.
They're stuck in mediocre hell.
I mean, they have the 11th pick. What are they going to do? Are they going to move up to get a quarterback? Are they going to move back? Are they going to stay where they're at? We don't know. Are they going to re-sign Cousins before the draft? We don't know. I just,
I got a question. You think Sean Payton would take Kirk Cousins?
No.
Why not?
I don't think Cousins will want to play for Sean Payton.
He wouldn't want to play for a coach with a Super Bowl ring?
I don't think Peyton's attitude and Cousins' attitude meshes well.
Well,
I don't think I think Peyton might be too abrasive for Cousins.
oh, boo hoo.
So it's the new NFL, Tony.
Fuck this NFL.
I don't know. Are the Broncos really going to pay another quarterback though with what they're paying Russell?
They're still on the books for Russell, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a point there.
Yeah. So I think the Broncos are going to go young. They might sign Minshew.
What is Cleveland going to do now? Are they keeping Flacco or what's?
I heard they're trying to work on a 2-year contract with Flacco because I think Watson. I think they can clear Watson.
They're ready to get rid of Watson.
Yeah, I think they can clear him. They'll eat some salary cap, but I think there's a
You know
way
what
for
though?
them to get
If I'm
rid of him.
if I'm gonna try to send Watson somewhere,
Atlanta,
Atlanta?
Tampa. Well, Tampa wants to sign Baker Mayfield from what I hear.
They want to sign Mayfield. Atlanta, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. Tomlin can deal with it. Tomlin can
deal with him. Tomlin would, and he would probably thrive in Tomlin's system.
Yeah.
What's another one? The Commanders.
Yeah.
Who they still don't have a head coach, do they?
The Commanders, no. I think they're waiting for the Detroit season to end. I think they're going to hire. They want Johnson, I believe.
Oh, they want Johnson?
Yeah. Because Rich Rod was a defensive guy.
Yeah, so they're going offensive.
Yeah.
They need to do something with them goddamn offensive ass uniforms they got. Jesus.
I would have won anyway, T-Bass. If I won Super Bowl tickets, even if my team lost, I would have won anyway. Cheer for the other team, cheer for the Broncos.
It was in Miami too.
Yeah.
So it would have been a blast.
It was about an hour, 15-minute drive for me to go down to Super Bowl facilities. Because I was in South Florida at the time.
Okay.
I don't know. I think Dobbs is gone.
Dobbs is gone.
Yeah. Mullins is still under contract, and Hall. Those are the only two quarterbacks they have under contract right now. I think Hall is the only quarterback that's on the roster this year that's on the roster next year. And it's just because he's cheap, because he's a 5th-round pick.
He's a 5th-round pick.
Yeah.
He's a 5th-round pick. So, well, should we wrap this up?
Well, yeah, you want to go an hour because you don't feel good. If you guys have any ideas, because like I said, it's the off season, so we're looking for topics.
I mean, we've come up with a few on our own, but
yeah,
if you guys have topics, questions, anything, memories, who was it that said they were going to try? Their mission now was to stump me. Was that T-Bass?
That was T-Bass.
Okay, yeah. If you want to be like T-Bass and try to stump me, bring it on. You will stump me a few times.
Yeah. And I've said this before. I know George made his comment earlier. I don't claim to be a Viking historian like Tony. That was never part of the show. I am the host of this show because Tony doesn't like to do a show by himself. He's not really a host. He likes to come on and talk Vikings. So for the 80s, 90s, that's my jam. But the 60s, the 70s, and everything up to date.
The leather helmet stories.
Yes.
Is me.
Yeah, that's Tony. Yeah. I never claimed to be the historian of the Vikings. I have never claimed to be an expert in that.
Oh my God, Bob Swede. Worst Viking drunk stories? That's a show in its own.
I think we have our show for next week.
There's a bunch of them that I've heard that I could talk about.
So we have two ideas back to back. We got the greatest playoff victories, and we got drunk stories. So we can. So we got two topics right there. Oh God,
that covers a big range.
that would be a 4-hour show, T-Bass.
That's a 4-hour show. That is a 4-hour show, easily.
But we.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? Yeah, we did. We beat the Giants, Cardinals, Cowboys, Saints. Yeah.
I think the Giants game was the only one that was close.
Yeah, the Giants were winning.
Yeah.
Giants were winning, and we got that last touchdown at the end of the game, near the end, and the onside kick worked. And the Vikings took it right downfield and kicked Eddie Murray, kicked the game-winning field goal.
That's the NFL gods paying the Vikings back for Bounty Gate, is what that is.
Yeah, they're a little late. They're a little late. You want to pay us back for 75 yet, assholes?
I blame Nick Saban
For what?
for the Saints.
Why?
He should because he didn't want Breeze as the quarterback for the Dolphins.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, remember he had the physical with Miami, and the doctor said they were like, we could take it or leave it with his injury, and Saban says, I don't want an injury quarterback with an injury history, so he signed with the Saints instead.
Wow. I forgot all about that.
And then Nick Saban realized that he signed the wrong quarterback and went back to college.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that's that.
Yeah, Bob, we have ideas for single seasons.
That 75 season, I'm going to tell you right now, for those of us that knew the old school Vikings, 75 was our year.
Wait, Bob, are you the one that says that he fell down and wasn't pushed off against?
Yeah, that was Bob.
Is that Bob?
I think that was Bob. Yeah, he tripped.
Yeah. Never mind the fact you could see him do this before.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, that 75 was our year. I think we beat Pittsburgh in the Super Bowl because Pittsburgh went into that Super Bowl and they were hurting. Joe Green was banged up, and he didn't play most of that Super Bowl. And
Dallas, was that the year that the tight end for the Cowboys dropped the ball?
No, that was 78. That was Jackie Smith that dropped the pass. That was 78. 75. 75. That's where Super Bowl 10. That's where Lynn Swann made that catch.
Oh yeah, okay.
That made Sports Illustrated.
Which, by the way, filed for bankruptcy.
I saw that. That's also the game where Roy Jarrella missed that field goal for Pittsburgh, and Cliff Harris patted him on the helmet like a dog, and Jack Lambert swung him like 10 yards downfield and threatened to beat his ass.
Yeah. So we have a couple of ideas for shows. That drunken show, so far, one of our best shows was the Love Boat episode.
There was a lot of drunkenness on that one. So
yeah. We're going to probably hear a lot of Keith Millard, Tommy Kramer.
Actually,
my muscles are bigger than your guns.
With the one you'll probably hear the most about, the drunken ones, you'll hear about
the McKinney Street fight.
Joe Cap and Lonnie Warwick.
Yep.
That
was when they were both old too. They were like in their 70s, weren't they, when that happened?
No, that was when he went off. Joe Cap went off on the former wrestler Angelo Mosca, who was in a wheelchair, by the way.
Joe Cap also got into the fight with that one guy at the signing at that table, the two old guys.
That was Angelo Mosca, yeah.
Yeah.
and because he remembered when they played in the Grey Cup. He remembered Joe remembered Angelo took a cheap shot at his running back
And
years ago.
that was probably what 18 years ago. They're both old. They're both like in their 60s, 70s, something like
They're
that.
both gone now, but that was God, yeah. No, Cap and Warwick got into it after a game at a player's house. They all got together. Don't know who the player's house was. It might have been Jim Marshall's.
Yeah.
And Lonnie said the defense didn't do their part. Joe said the offense didn't do their part. They start screaming at each other. Next thing you know, they're getting up and they're out in the alley fighting. Not a punch was landed, I guess. Couple of Vikings said it was the funniest thing they'd ever seen.
I think you're talking about the Steelers, and yes, North, yes, they were.
Yeah,
yeah. I think we could safely say Medium Green didn't need him. This is probably why he is probably the most healthiest one.
He's the only one left. Everybody else is gone. Everybody else is gone. But they weren't steroids then. They were like horse performance pills or something like that. They were
they weren't like what we consider antibiotic steroids today, but they were still steroids, but not.
They were steroids, but they were for horses.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what makes you think it's smart to put something safe for a horse in a human body?
Got to do what you got to do.
I guess.
So we would love to stay and talk, but Tony has not been feeling well lately. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah, we kind of.
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, we can do that as well. We did undrafted free agents last week.
Yeah, we can do that. One's easy, actually.
That one we can do. I do like some of the other ideas as well, as far as the drunken stories, and then the performances for and against the Vikings, the greatest playoff victories. We can do that one as well. So we have some great ideas. We appreciate the ideas that you guys give. We've already done one of Sarah's ideas. I think T-Bass gave us an idea that we did as well.
Yeah.
So we do ideas that you guys do give us. We just thought since it was NFC Championship weekend, we would talk about the Vikings appearing in championship games.
And how depressing it is once we get past 76 that we've lost 6 in a row.
Yeah.
God. But once again, I'm really under the weather. I don't feel good at all. But I wanted to thank everybody that came on in the chat. It means a lot. I'm not at 100%. Believe me, I could talk for hours, but I'm just wiped out.
And I've been working a lot lately, so
yeah.
I'm kind of settled in. I'm gonna start doing the more live stuff. We've kind of had due to health and just stuff going on. We haven't done our live shows. Like we were supposed to do a live show like last Friday. We weren't able to do it. So we should be getting back into the routine again, doing the show.
Are we gonna do the State of the North tomorrow or this weekend or what?
We're supposed to do it last Friday. We can do it tomorrow if you're up to it. It's up to you because you're the one who's not feeling well right now.
Well, you know what? I will keep you posted.
Okay. So stay tuned. We may or may not have a status of the North tomorrow, and then that's when you guys can come on and talk if you want to. Sarah, T-Bash, you guys come on a lot. You guys can come on and talk. Anybody else who's always here, you're more than welcome to join. I'll put the link in the chat for you guys to join if we do the show tomorrow. What's up, Frozen?
Hey, Frozen.
So that's pretty much what we're going to do. Tony and I will talk about the show we're going to do next week. I think it's definitely going to be one of the ideas that was given in chat tonight. We just don't know which one yet. We really do appreciate whether I'm riding Tony's coattails or not. Hey, I don't care. I'm like I said, I'm more of the host of this show. Tony is the history guy. I just kind of, we just kind of bring up topics. I kind of lead them, it always seems to bleed into the current Vikings. We need to get back to the NFC Championship game, so that's why we started talking about. That's why we started talking about the current Vikings, because we need to get back to the NFC Championship game. What they're doing now is simply not working. So that's kind of where we're at. Like I said, I appreciate everybody for showing up. Like I said, we do this because we love it. We're not in it for the money, obviously. We do it because we love it. We appreciate you guys showing up because you really don't
Money?
have to.
What money?
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody getting paid around here? Not telling me.
It's not me.
That's definitely not me.
So, like I said, we really appreciate you guys for tuning in week in and week out. You can't know the Vikings suffering without knowing the history.